Hello everyone, my name is Venue and today this is a short, quick, no BS guide to War Thunder's big boats. Or ships, just like we call them boats. Let's move on. First, crew points. You probably want to spend them in the gunnery of AAA. This means the anti-plane capabilities of your big ship. Another one, damage control. Survival leadership on watering time, fire extinguishing, and breach repair. These are very important. Ship commander. Leadership, also very important skill. Then the probably the observer's enemy torpedoes detection distance, and then the engine room. Logistical services are also very useful if you don't plan on fixing your ship after the battle. First, very quick basics. Look around with your C button and bind your lock target button to any button you want. I have mine binded to the one that I look around, so I will automatically select and lock the targets that I want to when I'm looking around. Next one is your button for gunners, for your auxiliary and AAA gunners. This button would allow you to not hit anything with your auxiliary gunners and AAA, as in they will not shoot it until you designate it, or shoot everything, and as I can see they started shooting even the boats, or shoot only airplanes and they will start shooting only the airplanes. It's very useful in realistic battles. In arcade battles I would just always leave it on to shoot everything. You can switch between airplane only, boat only, everything and nothing. Keep that in mind. Next thing you want to keep in mind is the layout of your cannons on your ship that you currently are using, because when you will zoom in with a Z button, for example, that I have bound to it, you will see that I'm viewing not only through the zoom in, but also through the binoculars from the bridge of the ship. That means dispersion of the guns, every single cannon having its own inherent inaccuracy. Also, they will converge, and for example, 5 kilometer range on this destroyer in the way that they're positioned on my ship. They will not be always 100% accurate. For example, if I would be shooting in here, as you can see, they have converged on range because they've passed each other because, well, they were supposed to hit over there, but they didn't. And on long range, you will see them converging on the point, but also there will be the shells will be crossing themselves because they're being shot from a certain position of your ship. So keep your position of your ship in mind, and that you're always aiming from the bridge. So if you want to hit this funnel, for example, maybe try aiming a little bit backwards if it's not moving, so your rear cannons can have a little bit more of an impact on the situation. Another thing, when you're locked in on a target that's long range and it says make ranging shot, bind your ranging shot key. That will allow you to range your shots. That will shoot only one cannon. It's also useful to dealing with PT boats and other targets such as aircraft. Okay, now that you have your target ranged, if, for example, there's a PT boat coming out from a certain cliff or something, you'll quickly switch your target and then you'll shoot. Watch what happens. You overshot the target a lot because they didn't have the time enough to range the shot. So if I were to, for example, shoot that and range my guns and cannons to this range, then I'll quickly switch it. I'll just keep it. There we go. There's always a delay between the rangefinder and wherever you select, and the delay of switching between your targets. Keep that in mind. Next thing, aiming and lead. When you're stationary, you don't need to lead, that's pretty obvious, so let's gain some speed. Okay, I'm going about 21 kilometers an hour, or 20 kilometers an hour. That means I will have to aim on a stationary target with my notch. What works for me is, every notch is 20 kilometers an hour, that equals to about 10 knots. So I will aim with the first notch on my target. For example, this last turret in here, of that ship, I will aim a little bit that, and maybe like this to remember my cannon offset. And there we go. I aimed with that notch, and that's usually just pays off. If I will increase my speed, 60 kilometers an hour, he's stationary, a little bit more than 60. I will be shooting right in the middle of it. Yeah, there we go. Next thing is torpedoes. Keep in mind that in realistic battles you cannot reload your torpedoes wherever you are. You will always reload them only when you're on the capture point. In arcade battles you will start reloading your torpedoes once you spent them all. I usually launch about 3 torpedoes or more per target. And usually try to launch your torpedoes when the target is not in the area of much maneuverability that's available to them, because, well, they will cannot maneuver against your torpedoes. Another thing is bow tanking. That means whenever you're facing another ship with your bow, if he doesn't use armor-piercing shells, you will absorb the shots of his high explosive shells to your bow without taking damage to other parts of your ship. Another targeting tip is use these buttons and bind them to whatever you have, so you can, for example, switch your weapons to secondary weapons and then target your primary weapons on any boat you want, and order your main gunners to do that for you. Of course, you will have to sadly enable the gunners to target them, and they will not be very accurate, but they will actually try to deter enemy boats that come after you. The last thing I want to talk about is the ammunition. As you've probably noticed, I have 3 types of ammunition on this ship. This is the normal HE, high explosive, which is very good against lightly armored targets. Another is semi-armor piercing, which is against the heavily armored targets. And next one is HE VT fuse shell. Variably timed fuse shell, high explosive shell. This shell will explode near the aircraft. If it will go near an aircraft, it will explode. However, keep in mind it has to go pretty darn near it. So, you'll reach this BR where you finally are facing light cruisers. How do I fight them? We will probably notice that, well, torpedoes are going to be always the most effective weapon against any kind of a boat, really. Maybe, again, not against PT boats that much. However, your high explosive shells are not going to be very effective against light cruisers as such. As you can see, I didn't even penetrate, so I'm going to just dump these wherever, and then I'm going to switch my ammunition to semi-armor piercing, because as you can see, it has way more penetration value. Yes, it has less filler, that means less boom, but the penetration value is what you really want against light cruisers that are usually lightly armored. And as you can see, the shells have actually penetrated, but not all of the compartments. But at least you have a standing chance of fighting against those. Another thing is the fire extinguisher, toolkit, and on-watering times. That's why I told you to level up your survivability skills. Because if you're on fire, and you're repairing, and you're fixing breaches on your ship, the time will go to immense amounts. It will increase extremely if you're doing all of these 3 things at once. If you're doing 2 things at once, it also will extremely increase. Keep that in mind. Doing only 1 thing at once is very quick, but then if you have, for example, many holes and you're on fire, you have to choose. Do I extinguish the fire first so it doesn't spread, or do I fix the breaches on my ship so I don't sink? It's always up to you. That's why you should probably level your crew. And another last thing that's probably the most annoying is smoke. This is the smoke that you're creating with a G button. And why I'm not enthusiastic about it is because most people don't know how to use smoke. Do not use smoke on your own spawn, because the enemy knows where you have spawned, and it's useless, but from your own spawn, you cannot see the enemy spawn. Also keep in mind that smoke breaks the rangefinder, so you cannot rangefind through the smoke. Use smoke only in situations when you see that your teammates are basically about to die, where you're trying maybe to lose a lock from the immense amount of enemies that have been targeting you and they have locked onto you. Or maybe you captured a point and you're trying to smoke it because you know and you saw there's enemies coming. That's basically all the uses you will ever need for smoke. Don't use it mindlessly, because most of the time you're not helping your teammates by using smoke. Most of the time. Trust me on that. Alright, thank you for watching, and I really hope this video has helped you to wet your socks and your boots in War Thunder's naval forces, big boats. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.